Hey, try to pronounce this word. Okay, shoot. Dysautonomia? No. No, Dysautonomia. No. Dystopia. Come on, try harder. Dysautonomia. For crying out loud, just say it correctly. I can't take this pressure. This is BS. Just making this up. This is total nonsense. So you're just giving up? I'm not wasting my time with a word that you just made up. It's not real and impossible to pronounce. It doesn't mean jack. Oh, interesting. One, it's a real word. Two, it's a real condition. Three, you believe it's hard and impossible to say? Try living with it. Okay. It is called dysautonomia, and it has many, that's kind of the umbrella term. And I'm going to focus on two of the forms: neurocardiogenic syncope and post postural orthostatic Trag's syndrome. And it easier way of just say POTS. However, with the numbers that have this, let's be very clear about various how we take numbers and how, because a lot of times we take numbers, we take language and how we want to have that favor us. So first of all, let's start off with COVID. Now, it's estimated that over 3 million people have died since the start of the COVID pandemic. That's a lot of people. Now, for a lot of people that never have dealt with COVID, never had anyone lost for COVID, never seen anyone suffering because of COVID, are going to say, well, there's 8.1 billion people on the planet. That's only 0.03% of the population. Well, if that 0.03% of the population does not affect you, then it's not a problem, right? Wrong. So, what about dysautonomia? 70 million people worldwide have some type of form of that. It may not be POTS, it may not be neurocardiogenic syncope, it might be a worse form, but 70 million people may have some type of form. So we have to understand what it is. Basically, it's a malfunction of your autonomic nervous system. What is the autonomic nervous system? It deals with various functions of our body that we are not conscious of all the time, such as heart rate, blood pressure, kidney. We are not conscious of all these things. I remember a priest when I went to see a talk of his, and he mentioned that we're doing a lot of this stuff that we are not even conscious. We're breathing. Our heart is pumping. Our blood pressure is normal. We can stand. We can walk. Our blood is flowing normally. It's flowing down our body, bringing oxygen to the various functions of all our organs, our brain, our heart, and various other areas. We're not conscious of this. However, if we stop breathing, we're going to be very conscious of this. If our heart stops beating, we're going to be very conscious of this. If our blood pressure drops, we're going to be very conscious of this because that's kind of a sign that we collapsed or something. If our blood is not flowing and getting pulled into our feet to where we can't walk clearly, we're now conscious of it. Diabetes, high blood sugar, high blood pressure, various other forms can be caused with dysautonomia that because of secondary health conditions. POTS affects 1 out of every 100 teenagers. Now, again, that's only what, 1% of teenagers? It mostly develops in young women, many childbearing age, 15 to 40 or so in that range. They look healthy on the outside, but they're just They don't appear to have anything wrong with them. And then all of a sudden, their blood pressure drops. They pass out. They faint because of standing too long. Most, not all, symptoms are, because you stand up for a long time. But there can be cases, and I've had instances to where my neurocardiogenic syncope has been when I'm sitting for a long time just because I feel my legs getting funny and trying to stand up and I can't stand up. Both of the conditions that I've discussed, POTS and neurocardiogenic syncope, they can form lightheadedness, fainting, shortness of breath, rapid heartbeat, slower heartbeat. I have a form of dysautonomia called neurocardiogenic syncope. A lot of the same things that POTS does, lightheadedness, and various other forms. To be diagnosed with it, I had to have a tilt table test, which is a very interesting test that they put you on a table, tilt you at various angles, track your heart rate, your blood pressure, and midway through the test, they give you a drug that is designed to drop your blood pressure. And of course, you notice that your blood pressure is dropping. The thing what's supposed to happen is that your heart rate is supposed to combat that, and it's supposed to balance that out to raise your blood pressure. Mine did not do that. In fact, I believe when they finally took the last reading, it was like 25 beats per minute, but it still continued to drop. And I can remember I was just about ready to go, and it was down to 12 beats per minute before it started to gradually come up. Very scary experience. We can have possible fainting episodes. You can be walking like you're kind of, I mean, if I had to go and support someone that was in court, and I was at the courthouse going through security and everything, and I went into the courtroom. And right before I got in the courtroom, I started having one of my spells and start having difficult walking because my blood is just being pulled down to my legs and it can't work its way up by gravity, can't work its way into the my brain to where my blood pressure is constant. I walk in that courtroom, guess what? I probably could be found in contempt because of the fact that I was disruptive and I came in intoxicated. If you have something like me to where I have to leave work many times um, per month, well, it's due to frequent, it can make work hard, make school hard. It can make being able to go into social activities difficult because of the fact that you really have to be very cautious about stuff that normal people are not cautious about. Now, someone that is diagnosed with some form of dysautonomia, what does that cause? It causes frustration and cause a lot of mental anxiety, mental exhaustion, depression, limited freedom, stuff that we can't do that other people may take for granted. Even if you have it under control and then you all of a sudden get sick, maybe a viral infection or various just a cold or a fever, and then now you have to more put more emphasis on taking care of yourself with the flu, but at the same time can't really ignore the fact that you still have to keep track of your dysautonomia, your neurocardiogenic syncope or POTS. If most people do in the morning, have a cup of coffee. We had to stay away from caffeine because caffeine can really affect how our blood works as far as neurocardiogenic syncope, or POTS. Alcohol. And why do we have to avoid some of these things? Because it dehydrates us. It can affect, if I have a bunch of water, I will be fine. I will have to go to the bathroom periodically, but I will be fine. But if I have just one thing of pop, then I will have to keep on going to the restroom. And why do I have to keep on going to the restroom? Because the pop is dehydrating me. It's taking all the water from my system out of my system. And when you get dehydrated, that is one of the signs that can cause a episode from either POTS or neurocardiogenic syncope. Most things happen when we're standing up, but we also have to consider driving. We have to go from place to place, but sometimes there's been times when I've called off from work and stuff because of the fact that I just don't feel safe driving to work. And even if I could get to work, I'd probably have to come right back home because I would not be able to withstand my entire shift. Such frustration, not only because you are going to lose a pay of work for that day, but also because of the fact you feel that you're letting your employer, letting your responsibilities down. I can't say how frustrating this is. I can't just put it into words. Sometimes before work, I have to lay on the floor of my room and prop my feet up just so that my blood starts to flow. I have to do relaxing exercises. I have to be able to calm down. And sometimes it's very tough to do because with dysautonomia, we have to be extra cautious about stuff people normally don't have to worry about being cautious about. I hope you liked the video. Give it a like, subscribe. Don't feel a bit of sorry that I have this disease. The purpose of this video is just to alert and know what this thing is and that it does exist and that it cannot be ignored and it should be treated as just as with any other disability that there's out there. I'll see you next time.